What's going on, everyone? So we all know that the San Antonio Spurs have the number 2 pick and are expected to take Dylan Harper. Now, another name that is very intriguing for the San Antonio Spurs is Ace Bailey. Now, this isn't a video about draft Ace Bailey or here's an argument to draft Ace Bailey over Dylan Harper. No, nothing like that. But there is the potential that Ace Bailey ends up falling maybe even pretty significantly in the draft. So Ace Bailey has refused to work out for any teams. He had a scheduled workout with the Philadelphia 76ers and canceled said workout, right? And there's already talk starting to buzz about him falling in the draft. And there were already kind of questions about him as the third. I've seen some mock drafts and experts saying, the fifth guy, all that, right? So Ace Bailey was most likely going to go third, but there was a lot of talks about him, potentially being in that top 5 range, but closer to 5th. Well, we've seen guys fall drastically. Last year, Dalton Connect, right, ended up going to Los Angeles Lakers. He was projected as high as 4th and 5th on some draft boards and mock drafts and stuff like that. Ended up falling to 17th. Cam Whitmore is a guy that was looked at as a top 5 to top 10 pick in that draft. Ended up falling all the way down to, 19th or 20th? I think it was 20th pick, right? So again, we've seen guys fall drastically. Now, I don't think Ace Bailey falls to 15th or, anything like that, or Spurs at 14th. But what if he falls to 8th or 7th or something like that? Should the Spurs look to maybe trade up in order to land a guy in an Ace Bailey, right? So now you have Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, Ace Bailey, and Victor Wembanyama, right? Just kind of a thought. Now, obviously that boils down to what would be the cost for that, where he falls. I don't think you'd be able to move into the top 5 without really selling. You'd probably have to, at that point, trade a Castle or give an insane package or something like that. But again, if Ace Bailey falls, into the 8th pick, right? A team like Brooklyn, right? The Nets, if I'm not mistaken, have the 8th pick, right? If he ends up as in that range, do you maybe go to Brooklyn and go hey, you have all these firsts, right? What would you want for the, 8th pick? Right? Especially if Kevin Durant falls through and all that stuff, and you do end up staying the course of staying the youthful route, there's some sense to be made of hey, maybe we can go get an Ace Bailey. Maybe you can talk to a team like the Brooklyn Nets and go hey, what if we give you you'd probably have to pay pretty hefty, but even if you're kind of selling some of the picks later on down the road to go get a guy now, because again, at some point, you got to stop drafting in the lottery and stuff like that. At some point, you're trying to win, build a contender, right? You're trying to be like OKC and win some championships, right? So to me, I look at it and go let's say again, he falls to 8th. Right? I don't think he falls out of the top 10. So I think it'd have to be in the top 10 range. But again, let's say he falls to 8th, hit up the Brooklyn Nets, and you're hey, who are some of these guys you like, right? Jeremy Sohan. Right, I know a lot of Spurs fans. Anytime I talk about Jeremy Sohan, I get people that are he's the next great superstar, can't trade him for nothing, and then I get some that are trade him for a bag of chips. But Ace Bailey, one is already in my opinion a better offensive player. Obviously Jeremy Sohan's defense and whatnot, but Ace Bailey slotted in. He can play the 3, he can play the floor, where Sohan's primarily just the 4. Right? Do you maybe look at, or do the Spurs look at Ace Bailey as we'd rather have him than a Jeremy Sohan? Right? Again, it doesn't matter what we think. It matters what the Spurs think. So maybe do you look at a Jeremy Sohan and look to package him plus something to maybe go get, that maybe Jeremy Sohan in the 14th pick and go get, an Ace Bailey, right? It really would boil down to some of these other teams and how high they value Ace Bailey. But again, we've seen teams be kind of scared off by players doing stuff and things are out of the ordinary. Like, why don't you want to work out for anybody, right? Is there a reason for it? Right? He's not like somebody like Victor Wembanyama. He doesn't have to work. Like, he could have just basically chilled. They could have caught him on camera, having a beer and smoking and just living his best life somewhere, just like lounged up, and he still would have went number one. Cooper Flag, same thing, right? Like, you get some of these guys that, yes, they are absolute locks. Like, teams are going to take them regardless, right? Somebody like Ace Bailey, where there are some questions about him, looks like he's going to be a tremendous player, but it's like, what's the ceiling? Where is he, right? And he's already looked at as, a top 5 talent in this draft rather than like the consensus. Like, right now you have Cooper Flag, Dylan Harper seem to be the two guys that are just like, and then it's like you have Cooper Flag, then you have Dylan Harper as like those tiers, and then it's like a gap and then a tier, right? So, would it shock me if Ace Bailey ended up falling, into the 15th pick or the 14th pick or something like that, right? Stranger things have happened, but still, it's just teams don't like that stuff, right? And then, teams look at that as like, okay, well, does that cause concern for character issues? Does that cause concern? Like, do you think you're better than you really are type thing, right? Like, you never want to start having these organizations question, things that they shouldn't or aren't supposed to question, right? Like, it's like, okay, is there something going on that we don't know about, right? So, see guys drop all the time. If I'm the Spurs, I'm looking into it. Right? If I'm the Spurs, I'm trying to see, like, can I, again, if it's like, and look, Philadelphia, there were reports that Philly's still, like, Ace Bailey is still in play for Philadelphia, that Philadelphia still might take Ace Bailey even if he doesn't work out for him. It's very possible one of these teams just take him regardless, right? That's a very real possibility. However, right, like, it would be something that would happen like on draft day, right? It's like, okay, we're in the 6th pick. Oh, no Ace Bailey yet. We're in the 7th pick. Oh, no Ace Bailey yet. All right, let's hit up the Nets, right? Or let's hit up, Chicago or whatever, right? Like, and start picking up the phone and start talking to these teams about like, hey, what are you thinking? What are you thinking for this pick? Time's approaching. Let's go. It kind of reminds me of what's the move, draft day, right? Like something like that. Because, look, if you can land Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, right? Teammates, got built-in chemistry, relationship, right? Like, you'd solve one of your wing positions, whether it's the 4 or the 5, right? Or, 4 or the 3. Probably best as the 4. Now you got your guy slotted alongside Wemby. Maybe you're still going to making the Kevin Durant trade, depending on what you have to give up for that, and kind of solve both your forward spots, or maybe you're sticking with Julian Champagnie as your 3, and you're just kind of going the youthful route, or Harrison Barnes, right? If it also be the cost, right? Because like, you're not trading like the 14th pick and like Stephon Castle and all these other things to go get Ace Bailey, right? It has to make sense, right? Especially if he's dropping. It's kind of like, well, we're taking it. We're taking a gamble on him. Do you want some of these things and maybe kick down the road? That's why I'd look at a team like the Brooklyn Nets, where it's like, you have an abundance of picks in this draft, right? How badly do you want Ace Bailey? Wouldn't you like to have, the 14th, 19th, 26th, 27th, and then future picks down the road? Or like I said, maybe you're looking at like a Jeremy Sohan. I don't know how some Spurs fans would look at that, but, to get Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, would that be better than Jeremy Sohan, right? And all his shooting concerns, right? It just, to me, it boils down, as always, like, what is the cost? What is the pay to play going to be? And if it's reasonable and you can get it at the right price, then sure, right? But if it's like, no, we need you to sell the farm, good luck to you. Figure it out, and go ahead and good luck on Ace Bailey type thing. But anyway, it was just kind of a thought, given how he's dropping. So let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Also, that enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.